Hey, thanks so much for clicking on this video and welcome to the Haves and the Have-Nots review here on YouTube. If you're a fan of Tyler Perry, you've come to the right place. Be sure to click that subscribe button as well as the bell notification icon. That way you don't miss out on any new content on the channel. And also check me out on these social media platforms, and links in the description below will lead you to my Twitter, Instagram, Facebook group, and Facebook page. Once again, thanks for joining in and enjoy the video. Alright, have and have not fans, to be completely honest, I should be asleep right now. I've been up for like 18 hours and I don't know, maybe it's because my body's used to being up this late, but I don't know if you can hear. You probably can. The wind is howling something fierce outside, so again, thoughts and prayers to those affected by what's it called, Hurricane Michael this time around. I'm definitely going to be staying in today. I have no place I need to go, so again, I plan on sleeping in and staying warm. But I really wasn't going to do this video, but during one of the live streams tonight, somebody brought up, and again, I'm sorry I forgot the name, but there were just so many chats coming up on the screen, I couldn't catch them all. But somebody mentioned that what if the reason Hannah is storming away from Catherine's house is because Jim was the one that had Quincy Jr. killed. Now, the scene where people assume that Jim had something to do with Quincy Jr.'s death was in the season 4 finale, the Veronica show, between Candace and Jim at the Artesian Hotel. And I actually rewatched that scene a couple times, and when I first saw it, I was just under the assumption that Jim was being an asshole because he had heard about Candace losing her son, and you know, he was just digging in the knife even further because of the fact that at this point, I believe George, the acting DA, this was around the time George was first introduced into the series, was trying to get dirt on Candace in the murder of Quincy Maxwell. Remember, after the bank foreclosed on the house, that's when the cops came in and ransacked the place, found Quincy's body in the backyard, took Candace's safe and opened it, and found all the photos and videos, basically everything that Candace used in the war room to blackmail Jim for the $7.4 million. And at that point, you know, Jim Cryer had just gotten out of jail himself, because remember, at that point, Veronica, David, and Catherine were all out. And this was when Jim could not catch a break to save his life. And he was literally a puppet for the DA, because of the fact that he now had the photos. It was like, well, if you don't cooperate, maybe some of these photos might be released to the papers. I'm like, what the? He was like, what? So he decided to do it. And Candace was not falling for any of Jim's tricks. She can clearly tell it was a trap. And keep in mind, at the time, Charles was the one trying to get with her, but obviously focusing on the death of her son, she really wasn't about hooking up with any man. Now, let's break down the scene, because once again, I thought it was just Jim being an asshole because of him losing Amanda. He just wanted to dig the knife in deeper with Candace because, well, she just lost her child. Now, I broke down the dialogue due for copyright purposes. I couldn't put the scene in this video because, well, it was long. So basically, they're just doing the dialogue of, you know, oh, so you can't get into your hotel room, huh? You're running through some bad luck. I see you don't have any people on the streets. Warlock is after you. Warlock is dead. Oh, okay. Because basically, this was after the Malone shootout. And let's fast forward the conversation, because that's when he's like, hey, I heard about your son. I'm sorry. No, you're not. And then Jim goes into details about, well, I am, because like you, I know what it's like to lose a child, and referring to Amanda. And Candace was like, I already told you, I had nothing to do with that. And then Jim was like, inadvertently, you did. Because even though Candace didn't directly have Amanda's death on her hands, one could possibly argue that Candace was one of the dominoes that fell over that knocked Amanda into her death. I do agree with that. But I'm not saying it wouldn't have happened anyway, but Candace was inadvertently a reason because of her telling Amanda to go to Professor Cannon to get a makeup test, and because of that, Cannon assumed that Amanda was an escort like Candace, also because they were roommates, leading to him raping her literally losing her mind, not taking her meds, stalking Cannon, getting a gun, and that's when she allegedly got shot. So, in a way, Candace was a reason for Amanda's death, inadvertently. So Jim flips the script and was just like, no, Candace flips the script, is like, whoa, whoa, are you telling me you had my son killed? And then Jim was like, it would take a special kind of marksman to be able to shoot from up there, basically like pointing up, referring to like a roof, miss Hannah and hit your son. How the hell could I do that? I don't forget anything, bitch. And then he walked off, and she was like, I don't either. I don't forget anything either. So then she even said, before that, she's like, you inadvertently had my son killed? I would never tell you that, Candace. I didn't do anything, not a damn thing. So the second and third time I rewatched it, I'm just like, okay, I'm not gonna lie. I might actually think Jim has something to do with it. Maybe. I don't know what. Maybe it's one of those gems that Tyler Perry buried underground and he's going to unearth it later on. But honestly, when I first saw it, I thought it was just Jim being an asshole. It just seemed way too coincidental for him to know the exact details. Because remember, this was Warlock and his crew in the motel room fighting Mitch and Benny, knocking them both around. They held their own for a little bit, but eventually they were outnumbered and outmatched. Then they pulled out the guns and they were shooting them. They were running past the kitchen and behind the bed, got the mattress and held it up. To be completely honest, I would say that I'm about 60% sure that Jim had nothing to do with it, and it was just a stray bullet that hit Quincy Jr. due to the fact that the bathroom door had multiple bullet holes through it. And on top of that, Warlock and his crew couldn't aim for shit. Keep in mind that they were only a few feet away from Benny and Mitch. This was like Warlock with what, 4 or 6 guys with him? I forgot the exact number. But most of them, if not all of them, had guns. And you're telling me you couldn't shoot too long? I mean, Mitch is like freaking 7 feet tall. And then Benny is not too much shorter than him. You're telling me you couldn't hit either of them with a single bullet when they're barely maybe 6 feet in front of you? Like, nobody could have walked up beside the mattress, fired 2 bullets, and then ran before the cops showed up. So it just seemed a bit too coincidental that a stray bullet would hit Quincy Jr. and not Hannah. I mean, didn't they say like Hannah was in the bathtub? Like, her and Quincy Jr. got down in the tub to avoid being shot, but then a stray bullet hit Quincy. Now, in order for a marksman, like, I don't know the dimensions of the bathroom. I don't think there was a window in that bathroom because we only saw the inside of it like fully once when Candace was in the bathroom, when Quincy Jr. was in the bathtub, and we saw the sink, the toilet, and the tub. And the windows were obviously in the hotel room itself. So the only way a marksman could have been able to hit Quincy Jr. directly would have been with like heat-seeking equipment, like goggles, to be able to detect heat signatures from the bodies within the motel room. And one could wager that Quincy Jr. was the smallest, so it wouldn't be impossible to direct a bullet through there. But I mean, keep in mind, the bullet most likely went through the door itself. So the door, I mean, this would have been one hell of a marksman. So that's why I'm leaning more towards the side that Jim was just talking bullshit in order to piss Candace off. But he did say, I don't forget anything, not a damn thing. Meaning that, this could have been revenge against the whole thing in regards to, hey, you inadvertently had a hand in my daughter's death, so I'm inadvertently going to have a hand in your son's death. I don't know exactly how this truth will ever come out. I mean, I don't know if there's an investigation going on about Quincy Jr.'s death, because I don't really think anything like that ever happened. But if that truth is found out, I could definitely see that being a real reason for Hannah storming out of the house and not wanting anything to do with the Criers. Whether or not this happens before the money is transferred over is another thing, but I really want to give props to whoever came up with that theory in my chat, because I never thought of that. It's just, the thing is, how exactly would this come into play in terms of Jim and Candace seeing each other face to face? If I'm not mistaken, the last time Jim and Candace actually saw each other face to face was in the episode of the Veronica Show. I mean, that was the finale of season 4. And that scene, I actually did like it, because if anything, I feel like that was a good way to close out the season by showing us the two characters who really got this show kicked off in the first place at the beginning of season 1. But with Jim still mad about Candace taking the money, and I don't know, maybe Charles has some answers, maybe, I don't know, but I feel like the two main flaws in this theory is, number one, how exactly will this be brought back up into the plot again? And number two, how exactly will how exactly was this hitman hired? Because remember, nobody knew where Candace was. It was only because Warlock had Hannah followed, and that's how he knew where the hotel was. I could be wrong, but I do believe that Candace did tell Erica, but it really wasn't until that Hannah got followed that Warlock knew the exact location and hotel room number. So again, I could be wrong. I think she might have told Erica, but I forgot. It's been a while, guys, so forgive me on that. But if Jim really was the reason for Quincy Jr. dying, that is definitely very, very, very awful, because that's just another reason for Hannah to be pissed off at him after overhearing that he would let Benny rot in jail if it meant Wyatt getting out for a crime that, you know, Wyatt committed and Benny didn't. So throw on top of that Quincy Jr.'s death and the whole thing with Candace, even though Candace was the one that started this mess. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Do you think that Jim was responsible for Quincy Jr.'s death, kind of like Veronica orchestrating Erica and Maggie Day's assassinations? Like, she technically wasn't the one that killed them, but she was the one that hired people in order to do it. So this is a very interesting conversation. It really changed my view of the scene that we didn't see since, what, 2017. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll talk to you soon.